Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
All right, my partner on Thursday Night Football on Prime Video. Don't tell Daniel Jeremiah. Just kidding. I'm gonna have DJ on as well. But Bucky Brooks is joining me again on the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast. Bucky, where's your Halloween costume?
You didn't tell me. I didn't get the memo. I could have put something on.
Halloween is my favorite holiday. You can't see right now, but I was digging through all of my old costumes to find something to wear on the podcast today. And I think I have probably like 30 Halloween costumes.
I mean, that's a lot, Joy.
Is it too much?
I mean, that's a lot.
I have a whole store. I have costumes from like 10 years ago because you buy them and like they always like overprice them at these Halloween stores. So you can't bring yourself to throw them away. So like half of my closet is just Halloween costumes that
but like how often can you recycle them?
So yeah, that's important. That's a good question. You have to keep a good rotation. So like most of them I haven't reworn. Although I am going to, well, it was my friend's. So like I'm going to kind of redo one for Friday's show for the Herd, but I hadn't worn it. My friend had worn it. So I'm being a little thrifty.
I mean, a little bit, but like this isn't even the year that you can really get down because like with COVID and social distancing, you can't do the Halloween party and the normal stuff that most of us would do.
Yeah, last year I went to the Halloween parade in West Hollywood. Have you ever been to that?
No, but I can imagine that it's a treat.
I can't even describe it. It's insanity. It's 1 million people. They shut down. I'm not exaggerating. They shut down Santa Monica Boulevard from basically like the end of like that Beverly Hills Park, like as far down as you can walk, and it's people like this close to your face for the entire street. It's 1 million people. It's the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my life. It's nuts.
Oh, I might have to sign up to do that.
Yeah, not for like a couple
I've never
years.
heard about the West Hollywood Halloween thing. That's an interesting one. I can imagine it though.
Listen, you got to be a little liberal. But I'm
fine with it.
It's a great time. It's a great time and the best costumes in the world. But so let's talk about some horror show NFL teams, shall we? And Bucky, aside from doing Thursday Night Football with me and DJ on Prime Video, is also a scout and a high school football coach. What's the name of your school again?
Granada Hills Charter.
Granada Hills Charter. And obviously also on NFL Network and contributes on FS1 as well. So I think the Cowboys are at the top of my list because I had higher expectations for the Cowboys this year than I probably should have. But it's also the NFC East, so like it can always turn things around in that division. Although this year they're particularly awful. But things are really significantly falling apart. I mean, now you've got Mike Nolan like scratching his eyeball with Tabasco. And it's like nothing can go right for them at this point. I don't really believe in firing coaches mid-season. I think we've talked about this before. And I don't even know if like you can fire Mike McCarthy after 1 year, but what do you do if you're the Cowboys?
Well, I think you have to stay the course if you're the Cowboys. You hired Mike McCarthy for hopefully a long-term deal, like meaning that you wanted to see him take the program from where it was under Jason Garrett to where it could be in 4 or 5 years under his leadership. He's one of the more successful coaches in the National Football League when you look at his record. He has a Super Bowl win on the resume. This start certainly hasn't been a great one, but I think Cowboys fans can probably take solace in the fact that his tenure at Green Bay started off in a similar vein. He was 1-4, then he moved him to 4-8. And then they finished 8-8 after they won 4 straight, but it set them up the next year to go on a run that led them to the NFC Championship game. So maybe, just maybe, he is kind of finding his way, trying to figure it out, and maybe they'll get better down the stretch because as bad as they have been, their division is still very much in play. And if they can find a way to kind of get out a win against the Philly Eagles, they're right where they need to be, as bad as they played the first half of the season.
And I liked Mike McCarthy. I felt like the Green Bay exit was a little unfair to him. Obviously, we all love Aaron Rodgers and we know what kind of talent he is. Mike McCarthy did have Aaron Rodgers. And they did lose Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just so uninspired. Andy Dalton had his head taken off. and no one even flinched. Like, I personally couldn't rock with somebody that just let me get my head taken off like that. Like, we got to fight when I get back in the locker room. Like, Andy Dalton's got to come in there swinging as a quarterback. Like, you got to hit somebody, right? Like, what do you do in that situation? I've never seen anything like that.
No, I've never seen anybody, like a team, not respond like that, especially when your quarterback gets cold-cocked like he was cold-cocked. You would think that there would have been a melee in the middle of the field.
And they would have gotten a pass, too. Like, no one would have held that against them.
Yeah, and not that we're advocating penalties and violence and all that other stuff, but at some point, there's a code in the locker room that you have to step up and protect your own, and they didn't do that. But I feel like it's kind of emblematic of how this team has played. They played like a bunch of me guys. Really, like, they are a group who basically have a bunch of solo artists. So let's just call them New Edition, right? So they're New Edition. They got Bobby on one side. They got Johnny here. They got BBD doing their own thing. You got everybody else trying to run around. Ref Tresvant trying to have a solo. And they haven't quite come back together for the reunion tour. So no one has told them that, oh, this is the reunion tour. This is not your solo act. And so they need to get it together. And I think what Mike McCarthy has to do is he has to bring everybody into the room and kind of put them all on blast, coaches and players, and kind of get them moving in the right direction. Because you're right, when you look at them, they are a very uninspired group. They don't appear to have like a core set of values and standards that they're trying to play up to. And until they get that part right, it doesn't matter what he does with the X and O's, because the locker room isn't right. He has to fix the locker room.
So the 49ers stomped out the Patriots this weekend, and they have their whole own list of injuries and issues. And I think we probably buried the 49ers a little bit too soon. But now I think with their schedule coming up and the amount of injuries that they have, it's not so much that we buried the team, but like that's just a lot to overcome, especially in the NFC. But the Patriots needed to win that game, in my opinion. And now I thought that was a must win for the Patriots this week. So now I don't know. You have to beat the Bills, right? Like, to me, this, and Colin said this today, I don't think it's hyperbole. This might be one of the biggest games of Cam Newton's career, because things are starting to slip in New England, and he's not really just playing for the Patriots this year. Like, he's revamping his resume for the rest of the league for next year.
Yeah, no, it's a big game for the Patriots. It's a big game for Cam Newton. But I want to put this disclaimer out there. Cam Newton had COVID. We don't know how COVID is impacting Cam. We don't know what kind of issues he may be dealing with or whatever. Like, maybe some of the lethargic nature that we've seen from him is due to the fallout from dealing with COVID, and COVID kind of went through that team a little bit. And so, look, you don't want to make excuses for the Patriots, because they certainly haven't found their rhythm. They haven't found their identity, but I think those issues may be coming into play. That said, I think the Bills have more pressure on them than the Patriots, because the Bills have been anointed as the team to beat in the AFC East without really knocking off the Patriots. And so this is a huge game for Josh Allen. And we have seen Josh Allen kind of come back to earth of late. He was playing at an MVP level the first 3 or 4 games. He hasn't played at that level, and people have kind of figured out whatever the secret sauce that he had. And so how does he play against the Patriots? The Patriots should put up a better effort. That San Francisco 49ers offense can be confounding when it comes to dealing with their running game. But yeah, this is a big game. It's a big game for all parties involved. Cam Newton needs to play better for sure, but the Patriots have to play better on all sides. Defense, offense, special teams, they got to get it going.
So it's Tua time in Miami, speaking of the AFC East, and I'm very excited. But I also think we need to just temper expectations for what we're going to see from him initially. No? Drum up the expectations?
No. Like, why would we do that when we've seen all the other rookie quarterbacks light it up? Joe Burrow.
Because all the other rookie quarterbacks aren't coming off of hip surgery.
Yeah, but we've seen Justin Herbert. I mean, people ready to give him a gold jacket off of what he's done in L.A. And so, Tua time, we're ready. Like, you shouldn't, don't take the conservative side. Like, do the Miami thing. Fully walk into the Miami native part of it.
I got to be cocky, Dolphin fan?
Yeah, be excited. Like, this should be the first jersey that you should go out and get at quarterback since Dan Marino.
I have a Tua jersey. The Dolphins sent it to me, so I can wear it during Tua's debut. Okay, so maybe you're fair. Maybe that's fair. But I guess maybe temper expectations, because this is the difference. in the Dolphins situation and the other team's situation with Herbert and Burrow. We knew the Bengals were going to be awful, right? So even though the Bengals aren't winning, we like what we see each week from Joe Burrow. We didn't really think that the Chargers were going to be awful, but the fact that they're not winning every single game isn't dramatic. The Dolphins are 3-3, and Fitzpatrick was playing well. So people are... So like,
okay.
I mean, look, you don't have to sell me on Ryan Fitzpatrick. I know exactly what he is. Okay, exactly. I'm with you. He was playing okay, and they were in the mix, which is why I'm perfectly comfortable with them switching to Tua right now. But don't tell us Dolphins fans, because they were like, half of them were outraged at the idea that they would pull Fitzpatrick out before he does what Ryan Fitzpatrick always does. And that's not just of him, but that's just like, we have enough evidence of what you are at this point in your career. You're not going to turn things around in year 9. I know you went to Harvard, but that's what I'm saying as far as like the winning goes, because we didn't expect anything from the Bengals this year. I don't know what I expected from the Chargers because I had Tyrod starting throughout the season. So that's more along the lines. So I should not be conservative when it comes to that either.
No. I think with Tua, like, here's the deal. Tua is a talented prospect, and if don't have the injury, we'd have the conversation, should it be Tua or Joe Burrow to be the number 1 overall pick? Tua will give the Dolphins what they thought they were going to get when they were in the conversation to get Drew Brees. He is a very talented quarterback. He's a quick rhythm thrower. He's accurate. He is a guy who really understands the RPO game, the run pass option game. You'll see that pop up more. And I think for Chan Gailey, he is the perfect quarterback to run in this system. There had to be something that Tua was displaying on the practice field that just made it abundantly clear to everybody, we need to put him on the field. And to say that your team is sitting at 3-3, and to know how it could kind of resonate in the locker room to pull the plug on Ryan Fitzpatrick because he is such a good dude. He has emerged as a leader of that team. It had to speak volumes about the talent that Tua brings and what he could be to this offense. I think he's going to be fine. Even if he starts out slow, I'm not necessarily worried about that. Yes, I do have a little of that hesitation when you think about his hip situation and the injury. But, man, he is talented. And I think when you have a talented quarterback, we've seen what these young guys have done. We talked about Burrow and Herbert. Think about Kyler Murray and how exciting everybody is down in Arizona. Well, Tua doesn't run around like those guys, but he certainly is a talent on par with those guys.
So there's a lot of scary teams in the league. Scary good. Obviously my Steelers, the Titans, the Bucks, the Packers, the Chiefs, Ravens. Who is the scariest, scary good, scary best? Actually, I shouldn't even say scary best. Best is a different question. Who's the scariest team in the NFL to you right now?
Well, I mean, I think the team that's the scariest are the reigning Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, just because, I mean, they can win a variety of different ways. The last couple of weeks, we've seen their offense kind of operate at a pedestrian level, but they found ways to win. They beat the Buffalo Bills with Clyde Edwards-Helaire running crazy. They knock off the Broncos with the defense making plays, and we know what they can do when Pat Mahomes is hot with the weapons that they have. And then they go and get Pat Mahomes an underrated weapon in Le'Veon Bell. While everyone has poured dirt on Le'Veon Bell is a perfect fit in that offense, not only as a runner but as a pass catcher. Quietly, he averaged over 6 yards per attempt against the Broncos, and just like a little bit of action. As they get closer to the playoffs, he's going to get more playing time, and they have everything that you look for on offense. And so they're a scary team. The other scary team, obviously, is Tom Brady and what the Buccaneers are doing. Tom Brady has found his rhythm because he has a ton of playmakers around him. They add one that might be a little cray-cray, and Antonio Brown, but there's no denying the talent. And if you can get the cray-cray lined up, he certainly can give them something that he didn't have, and that is a dominant player over the middle of the field in the slot. And as he goes and as he plays, I think he will remind people he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. He's one of the best to ever do it at the wide receiver position. And I know people are saying, like, they didn't need him? Yeah, but you can get him, so why not get him? And I just think that he gives them something that they didn't have. He gives an added dimension to that offense, and their defense is playing lights out on the Todd Bowles.
So you have obviously a lot of experience scouting, and I think we may have talked a little bit about this on Thursday Night Football on Prime, but I'm not so sure about the idea that Trevor Lawrence should demand to go to a different team if the Jets get the number 1 overall pick, which looks like it's full steam ahead Jets to number 1. I'm very pro player. Like, I think you should use as much leverage as you can, make as much money as you can, stick it to the man. I don't care. I'm not writing the checks, so it don't matter to me. I don't think that there's really loyalty in professional sports, so I don't hold it against players when they're not loyal. It doesn't upset me. I don't believe in that. I also come from a different backgrounds, and I'm a killer, so it just doesn't matter to me. But I do think that we are living in a different space than we were with Eli and Peyton and John Elway. Like, social media, there are a zillion channels that cover sports, a million podcasts, a million shows, radio, television, streaming, Instagram. Like, there's endless outlets to criticize what you do. And John Elway was successful, Eli was successful, and Peyton was successful. So we don't hold it against them that they used some leverage to get out of the situation that they were in. But this is New York City, and the Jets haven't been always dysfunctional. So I just feel like you're coming in, you're Trevor Lawrence, you're like the biggest star coming into the draft in years. You have massive expectations on you. You may win another national championship this year. I don't know. Like, I just don't know if that's the best idea to force your way out of the Jets.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the reports obviously came out that he was like, oh, man, maybe I'll just go back to school. Maybe I'll just hang out
that's
in
a
Clemson.
terrible idea. I'm adamantly against that. That's a bad
maybe
advice.
He's like, maybe I hang out and just do it down here or whatever. I think he does have leverage. Is well within his right to look at the situation and wonder, do I really want to go to New York when I've seen so many players have a tough time existing and thriving with the Jets? I think it is a consideration. And if you do have the power, I mean, I'm an advocate for wielding the power when you have it. And so I think this is a situation where Trevor has a ton of power because he is viewed as the unanimous or undisputed choice as the number 1 quarterback in the draft. And so if he doesn't feel good about the Jets situation, I think he should flow out all those scenarios where I don't know, maybe I'll go back to school. Maybe me and my fiance just hang out here in Clemson and just do what we do and play house and all that other stuff. And I go in the next year's draft. And so he should do that. I don't know which agent has his ear and has kind of told him to put that out there, but certainly it's a nice tactic.
I mean, going back to school, I think is a terrible idea. You're risking getting injured. I mean, you saw Tua. Like, if you want to take that risk, I think that's a bad idea. And there's 0% reasoning to do that. Because who knows? You could do that, and then the Jags have the number 1 overall pick next year. Like, what? Like, that's, I don't think.
But the Jags would be perfect for him. He's right. He's from Georgia. It's right there. Jacksonville is.
Nobody wants Trevor Lawrence to go to Jacksonville. No, that's why I'm saying, like, if the Jets are in a fine position either way. Like, they're in the driver's seat because they have Sam Darnold regardless. So if he doesn't want to go to the Jets, then the Jets can trade to someone who needs a quarterback, like, for example, Jacksonville, for $1 million picks, and you can send him to Jacksonville. Enjoy the middle of Central Florida. Okay, I've lived there.
Like, why not? Come on, you're Florida.
Let's not listen. No diss to Jacksonville, okay? But they've had like 3 legendary players in the history of their franchise. It's not a big market. And listen, I'm from Pittsburgh. I lived in Central Florida for a while. I lived in Florida for a very long time. And I'm just gonna say it like it is. Like, call me a coastal elitist if you want to, but like, where you go matters. Like, the market that you're in matters. And for that matter, Jacksonville is not more functional than the New York Jets. And I'm just using Jacksonville as an example because, like, they need a quarterback. Like, the Gardner Minshew thing was cute, and like, he's great. He wears jean shorts and he can throw the ball around and he's like strong. But if you have the opportunity to get Trevor Lawrence and you're Jacksonville, that's what we're all on the same page. That's what you're doing. But like, if you look at the teams that need a quarterback next year, who are they?
So they're a handful. Like, obviously, the Washington football team is in need of a quarterback. They have kind of dismissed Dwayne Haskins, so they're on to the next. The Jacksonville Jaguars have to be in play. It looks like the New York Jets will be in play if they finish at the top of the heap. That come to mind. The Chicago Bears appear to be a team in need of going back and kind of fishing in that quarterback pond. So they're going to be a handful of them. Indianapolis Colts, another team. Phillip Rivers is nearing the end. I know they have Jacoby Brissett, but you would like to think if they thought highly of Jacoby Brissett, they never would have brought Phillip Rivers in.
Right.
And so there are a handful of teams, and luckily this year there should be enough quarterbacks in the draft to fill those seats.
Well, I'm really interested to see where he ends up going because New York is an interesting situation because they could trade back to. I mean, the Colts would be a great situation for him.
I think Jacksonville would be great. And now, mind you, I know when you mentioned those 3 legendary players in Jacksonville, I'm hoping that you're including me in that mix for my year that I spent there. I'm hoping that you're including me in the Duval's finest. But yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great if Trevor was able to play there. He is from Georgia, like the proximity, like his parents would be able to drive down and see him play all the time. They're in desperate need of a star, the attention, everything. My people in Jacksonville would raise up. They would show up for Trevor Lawrence.
You're so okay. So you're biased. You're a little biased.
I mean, I'm a little jaded.
You're a little biased. It's understandable. I personally, for interesting purposes, would prefer that he goes somewhere like New York. I think Jacksonville's probably like at the bottom of the list if I'm gonna keep it real. Like it's in order of priorities. I think the Colts are probably number 2 because the Colts are just kind of a boring organization overall. I think he'd be great there and have massive success. But they're look, I root for interesting. Like I'm in the interesting business. So like the Colts would be great for him because they are a well-run organization and are in place to win. And you're right. If they thought Jacoby Brissett was the guy, why would you bring in old man Rivers? Like you wouldn't. So the Colts would be great. Washington would be great. It's a legendary franchise. And Rivera, like I think Washington would be an awesome place for him. The Saints are kind of interesting too because Drew Brees very well might retire and nobody thinks Taysom Hill is a franchise quarterback.
What about Jameis?
So the Saints are interesting too. What do you mean? What about Jameis?
I mean, Jameis
is a
right
backup
there.
quarterback at this point. I mean, I think we all know
Jameis is hoping that he gets his opportunity to do the Teddy Bridgewater thing. I do believe Trevor Lawrence would be intriguing, but man, they would have to give up so much to get into that conversation. But the opportunity to see Trevor Lawrence with a great offensive mind like Sean Payton, you just wonder what would he do with a talent like that? Someone who can run and throw. He can do some of the running stuff that Sean Payton, I'm sure, is fascinated about when he sees all these young quarterbacks making plays, but then also can kind of deal like he would like to deal. That'd be a fascinating place. I just don't know. Do they have enough ammunition to get up there? They would have to, they have to trade off all kinds of stuff. They had to do the Ricky Williams thing all over again.
Well, that worked out. While we're talking about it, what we started talking about, the Patriots are pretty stinky. Like they have a lot of draft picks. They could very well be in play.
Yes.
But the only issue with that is if the Jets get the number 1 overall pick, are you going to make a trade with the Patriots? Like probably not.
No. But why would you help? Why would you help the evil empire?
Yeah, you're not going to do that.
To the top. And I think for the Jets, I think it'd be an interesting conversation because you have a lot of people that have invested a lot in Sam Darnold, but here you have Trevor Lawrence. And so do you move on from Sam Darnold? What does Sam Darnold fetch you in return? There's some people that say he would bring back a number 1, like a first-round pick. But can we honestly say that based on what we've seen? I know we would put a lot of it on Adam Gase, but this offense hasn't lit it up. And I don't know how many moments he has to kind of feel a highlight reel where you're like, oh, yeah, he absolutely is our franchise quarterback going forward and beyond.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think we all think Sam Darnold could play, and it's not a great situation for him right now. And I don't love Gase. Like I saw enough of him in Miami. I'd love to be in the room when he pitched himself to the Jets. Like what did I wish like guys would like write a handbook. Like give me the handbook about what I can say when I'm in the room with executives because you're not good at your job and somehow you managed to convince another organization to give you this job. It's wild to me. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Well, catch me and Bucky and DJ on Thursday night on Prime Video. You just go to Amazon Prime Video, and then change the audio to Scout's feed, and you can listen to me, Bucky, and DJ. Or you can watch us on twitch.tv/Move the Sticks, which is also Bucky and DJ's podcast, Move the Sticks podcast, which is a very good podcast. I am a subscriber. Thanks so much for joining me, Bucky, and I will see you on Thursday.
Hey, I appreciate it, Joy.
Are you going to dress up Thursday?
Yeah, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to see if I can figure out a costume that I can come up with for Thursday.
I'm not going to lie. I may recycle this one I'm not sure. I'm trying to think, like, we should do a coordinated one. We're running out of time. It's already Tuesday. That could be tricky.
It could be tricky. That could be real tricky.
We could, like, each go as different quarterbacks.
Oh. Huh. I wonder who I would go as. I have to work on that.
I have some wigs here. I might be able to pull off Marino. I have the jersey. We'll have to think about this. We'll discuss. But catch me,
we'll get on that.
Bucky and DJ Thursday night on Prime Video. Thank you, Bucky.
Hey, no problem, Jeff. Thanks.